Hello and welcome to The View from Felaban. I'm talking to Santiago Pena, former finance minister of Paraguay and a presidential candidate who has now joined the board of Banco Basa. Thank you for being with me, Santiago. And can you tell me a bit about the bank, especially its plans for the future? Typically, it is a bank that looks at the corporate financing side, but I know there are other projects.
Hello, Silvia. It's a pleasure to be here now on this new role, my first meeting in Felaban. Very excited, joining with representatives for all parts of the world, people that I have met already in my previous position as Minister of Finance, but now as a finance actor in the private sector. I'm very excited. I joined the board of Banco Basa in March of this year, a medium-sized bank in Paraguay, 100% a Paraguayan-owned bank. Which is focused on the corporate sector. So what we are working now is on the expansion of another type of instrument that the bank was not developing, investment banking, the capital market. We just got a license from the regulator, the central bank and the Stock Commission to operate as a stock exchange. We are also we also got the approval by the regulator to have an asset manager company. So we are developing new instruments. I'm preparing for a Paraguay that will become eventually investment grade. So the flows of investment to Paraguay will continue to increase as we have seen in recent years. The sovereign was the first step. We did the bond issuance in 2013 and become a regular issuer every year. But we are seeing more and more that investors are looking more into Paraguay. They want to diversify not only on the sovereign, they are looking now on the corporate sector. So I think this idea of developing new instruments suits very well for the Paraguay that we're going to see in the next couple of years.
And it isn't just yourself that has joined the board. Paraguay's former central bank governor, Carlos Fernandez, has also joined the board. And the finance minister that replaced you when you start your presidential bid, Lea Jimenez, is now in charge of developing the capital markets area of the bank. So quite an important team. And I wonder whether this is also an effort by Banco Basa, which is owned by former presidents Horacio Cartes, to improve not only the perception about the bank, which is still relatively small within the market, it is, again, relatively small within the region, but also the image of the whole country as a whole. You mentioned the investment grade that everyone is really hoping for.
Yeah, I think the idea behind is that we are truly committed with the country. We feel passionate about the future of Paraguay. We had the opportunity to work, the three of us, Lea Jimenez, Carlos Fernandez, and myself, over the last 5 years on the side of the public sector, going through the entire world, talking about positioning Paraguay into the world economy. But now we feel that we have so much to do for the country on the side of the private sector. We had the opportunity, the shareholder meetings decided that we could be very good suits for the plans that the shareholders have. The Cartes family, which owns the bank, is a 26-year-old bank, have a very good perspective to increasing their position in Paraguay. The market share went from 2% a couple of years ago to almost 5% this year, and we think that as Paraguay continues to grow, as the financial sector continues to grow, Banco Basa could play an important role. Carlos Fernandez is a global player. He was, before becoming a governor of the central bank, he was the resident representative of the IMF in Brazil. Brazil is a very important player for us, so he knows and understands the Brazilian economy very well. He has a global view and the role of Paraguay. So the combination of our own perspective together with a corporate governance that the bank has had for many, many years, we think it creates a very good balance, because as we are seeing and we have been discussing with different American banks particularly, compliance is becoming more and more an important issue. And we think that our own experience as former regulator, because myself, I was also a regulator for the banking sector when I was at the board of the central bank, it fits very well in having this mix, the commercial view, but also the regulatory view. Paraguay went through changes in their banking legislation. We approved last year a new banking law. So all these changes, I think, are going to be very, very important, and we're very happy to contribute. I always mention this during my own presidential campaign, that some of the Paraguayans will be responsible to hold public positions, others will be elected positions, but all Paraguayans have a full responsibility to work toward the construction of a better Paraguay. We think think that Paraguay has so much to do and so much to give to the people. So I think that the private sector, the financial sector, is a nice platform to be in touch with universities, to think tanks, to the commercial sector, to the industrial, agribusiness. So it's a broad range of areas that you can have contact with.
Very well. And lastly, you mentioned earlier, as we were talking before recording our interview, that private equity firms are, for the first time, perhaps looking at Paraguay. You also, obviously, we mentioned the issue of how investors look at a country that is not investment grade, and obviously foreign investors, especially coming from perhaps from outside the region, will look at issues around corruption, anti-money laundering, and so on, which are, of course, always very important. So the question is, what kind of concerns do these investors have when they come and talk to you, and where are they where they're focusing their attention?
I had the privilege, Silvia, of witness the change in perception of many investors. I remember from the first time we issued bonds in 2013, Paraguay was completely unknown in the market. When investors will type Paraguay on their Bloomberg platform, it will appear not found. Paraguay did not exist in the market. So over the last 5 years, they have a big change. The IDB meeting in Paraguay last year was a big event to also position to Paraguay. So we're seeing that investors are looking to do more. They are already investing in sovereign. Now they want to do also private placement. They all want to bring investment. They like the risk that Paraguay is offering. They like the credit. So the concerns are, will Paraguay sustain this economic development that we have seen over the last 10, 50 years? Because in not only the last 5 years. And we truly believe it will continue. We see that the economic management of Paraguay with this new administration is continuing the same line. Both the Minister of Finance and the Governor of the Central Bank are people that is well respected in the economic community. They have a lot of experience on economic management, so we'll continue to implement. We need to sustain economic policies, have to be consistent in the longer path. Justice, corruption, impunity are the big challenges for Paraguay going forward. The current administration is doing a lot of efforts in that regard. There are a lot of prosecution in that regard. So I think Paraguay is going in the right direction. I think that as we continue to sustain economic policy, as we continue to have more transparency, more accountability on public officials, the country will continue to perform well, and this is a guarantee for investors to continue to put their money. Just to give you an example, Brazil went through a very difficult time over the last 5 years, but despite that difficult period, Brazil was the largest foreign direct investor in Paraguay. By far, they invested net flows of about $500 million over the last 5 years. And I think this is a great signal that investment will continue to flow despite what is the situation in the region.
Very well. Thank you so much for your comments, and best of luck for your work. Thank you
Very much, Silvia. A pleasure.